So let's talk about how to start a conversation with individuals about retirement planning. Obviously, we want to keep it simple. We want to acknowledge how we were introduced to them. Perhaps they're a current client. Perhaps they're a prospect that attended a workshop that we engaged them in. We have a great Zoom workshop if you're interested. First and foremost, we want to try to make a connection to that individual, especially if they're a new prospect or if we only have one or two pieces of business with them. We want to ask them how their family is doing. Obviously, we're experiencing a financial crisis, but more important to that, we're experiencing a health crisis. So acknowledge that. Be mindful of it. How are you and your family doing through this situation? What do you find most challenging other than the financial concerns that you obviously have? So, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, let's talk about retirement. I'd like to just get to know you a little bit better and your thoughts and feelings about retirement and what could bring you peace of mind in a time when really it's very difficult to gain. So, what does retirement look like to you? We want to get as granular as possible on this conversation. What, when, why, how. What does retirement look like to you? What do you want to do when you retire? Is it travel? Is it eat out more? Is it spend more time with your family? Is it learning how to cook? Is it engaging in a hobby? Really understanding what that looks like to them. And then when? When do you want to retire? How far away are you from retirement? Are you in retirement? Is it your concern that your retirement's not going to last as long as you do? Why is it important for you to do whatever it is that you've uncovered? For example, if they talk about travel, they want to travel. Why is that important to you? Maybe they have parents that wanted to travel that didn't get a chance to. Or maybe they want to make sure that their kids are not suffering the same way that they did growing up. Whatever that why is, it's important to understand that because that why is going to help motivate them to move forward and it's going to help you to understand how to best help them. Well, we know what retirement looks like to you, we know when, and we know why it's important to you, but the final question is how. How do you plan on accomplishing this? For example, maybe it's important to them to have a $10,000 annual budget for traveling. Or maybe it's important to them to have a $10,000 budget to go on a family vacation every year. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, how do you plan on accomplishing this? Once again, drilling down to see if they have a plan, how they're executing that plan, and how secure they feel about that plan. And now we go for the close, if you will. The close really is to move forward, not the close of the sale. If we could show you how you could accomplish it in the time frame you're looking for and give you peace of mind of knowing that you're going to be able to have a durable, sustainable, and predictable retirement plan, would you be interested in knowing more about that? What are they going to say? So remember, this is your first or second conversation. You're really getting to know them. You're speaking in high levels and you're trying to educate them as to why it's important to have a plan, have a retirement planning coach, and especially why they should work with you. So now we want to pivot and just talk philosophically about our approach to retirement. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we can see why retirement is so important to you. And we can see that you've already begun to think about some ways to accomplish your goals. But can I share with you how we approach retirement? And now we move to our next slide. We believe that a properly constructed plan needs a multi-phase approach. Many individuals talk about asset allocation or even asset location, but very few advisors talk about asset organization. Has anyone ever talked to you before about asset organization as it relates to retirement planning? Chances are the answer is going to be no. So let's talk about asset organization and why we think that's so important. We think that to have a durable, sustainable, predictable plan, you need three primary components and a systematic approach to this. Component number one is having money coming in every month to pay your bills. That's the yellow bucket. Generally, this is your Social Security, pension if you're fortunate, and then a systematic deposit from a reliable source to supplement those incomes so that you have peace of mind of knowing you can pay your bills. The second important aspect of a sustainable plan is money in the bank for an emergency. We believe that these two components are critical to help you to have peace of mind, knowing you're going to pay your bills, knowing you have money for an emergency. Because if you have money to pay your bills, you have money for an emergency, this allows you to take a long-term perspective here in the green bucket. And having longer-term investments that will ride up and down with the market is critically important, because we know over the long haul, although it may not seem like it now, over the long haul, money invested in the market does produce positive results. And it's important to have because we know you need something that's going to keep pace with inflation, which money in the bank and money that's coming in for income generally doesn't. Having that long-term perspective helps to reduce, not eliminate, but reduce anxiety related to the ups and downs of the market. It prevents you from having an emotional reaction to what we're going through now. And candidly, this is one of the key components to success in the market. The ability to remove emotion or reduce emotion to the ups and downs of the market over a short period of time and take a longer term perspective. So asset location, both for income needs, emergency needs, and long-term needs, is critically important, we believe, to successful retirement planning. There are basically three ways to approach retirement. This is one way. The other is called income basing, making sure you have a base income and then the balance you could have for longer term, as opposed to the bucketing strategy we're seeing here. And the third strategy, which is written about a lot, and unfortunately a lot of folks are doing, is just a plain withdrawal from their assets. It could be a rule of 4%, a rule of 3%. It varies from time to time, but it's simply a systematic withdrawal from your accounts. Now, some folks may not do that necessarily by choice. They may be forced to do it, especially when they hit age 72 and they're required to take money out of their accounts. Let's see what this type of strategy could do to a client's money, to your money. We'll take here a typical strategy, which is called a 4% withdrawal rate. It's just a simple linear withdrawal rate. We would submit to you it's not really any type of constructive planning, but unfortunately it's what a lot of folks do. They simply take money out of their accounts without really thinking about asset location and strategies of how to take those withdrawals. We see here an example of the same rates of return, but just in reverse. On the right side, on the left side, we see a positive rate of return in the first few years, and then some negatives, and then negative returns in the latter time frame there, years 19, 20, and 21. We have the same exact pattern of return except in reverse on the right-hand side. So the negative returns are in the first few years, positive are in the second. In this example, we're starting with $100,000 and we're averaging 5.4%. We're not taking any money out of it, and this is what happens when you're saving for retirement. As we can see, the end result is exactly the same, $285,269. But let's take this same example, and now let's show what happens when we're withdrawing money for retirement. In this example, we are going to show a 4% withdrawal rate, same $100,000 starting balance, same sequence of returns. We have positive returns on the left-hand side early on in retirement and negative returns on the right-hand side early on in retirement. The only difference between our previous example and this example is that uh, Bob and Barbara and Jim and Mary are withdrawing money at that linear 4% rate, adjusting for inflation. We can see there's two vastly different experiences. Jim and Mary actually have money in year 21 more than what they started with, almost twice as much. But Bob and Barbara, who had the misfortune of starting retirement when there was a negative rate of return, ran out of money in year 14, much too soon as relates to their retirement income plan. They ran out of money before they ran out of time. And this really reinforces why we believe that asset location is critically important whenever it comes to retirement planning. I'm not sure if anyone's ever talked to you before about this, but asset location can mean the difference between a successful retirement, a durable, sustainable, predictable plan, or one that runs out before you run out of retirement. We'd like to have the opportunity to present you with some ideas on how this asset location strategy would work for you, a bucket approach, if you will. If you'd like, we could construct a plan or an idea that would give you some sense of peace of mind, knowing that you would have a plan that would weather any storm, including the types of storms we're going through now. All we need to do is gather some data. We could put that plan together, schedule a meeting to go over that plan, and then talk about the exact types of strategies we would recommend to fill the buckets that we've talked about here.